But there's a reason why this song works perfectly. You know what? The time to hesitate is through. Aren't you done? Right, Andrea? It is time to be awakened, not to keep going through the process of awakening. You could do that till the cows come home. Is that an Oklahoma say? Yeah. You could do that from now until time and all eternity and never arrive at awakened. Jesus arrived at awakened. And I don't think Jesus had a boring life. Anybody here think Jesus had a boring life? Jesus did not have a boring life, and I'm not just talking about the end of his life. He had fun. He partied. He had 12 apostles with him at all times. I mean, they were always having a good time in life and teaching people to have a good time in life. And there's the awakened master saying, have at it, folks. Everything I'm doing, you can do. Irving Berlin picked that up later. Anything you can do, I can do better. So right at the top of the song, it says, you know that I would be untrue, you know that I would be a liar if I were to say to you that we couldn't get much higher. You know why? I would be a liar, because we can get higher. And I do not mean the kind of higher that you might think I mean. We can get higher in consciousness. We can raise ourselves up to a level of consciousness that we start to live from, not just aspire to. Not just think, I'm going to come to church every Sunday, I'm going to take the classes, and I'm going to aspire to be better at this. No, I think we need to be arrived and now do what we do from that place. So I can get much, much, much higher. Last January, I brought up the theme of awakening, and it's been great for me all year. And I always go in December back to January's theme, which is awakening. But when I looked at it, I went, I'm done. I am done awakening. I really am. I am awakened. Let's all say that. I am awakened. How's it feel? Good, right? And if you're saying, yeah, I don't feel it yet, that's okay. Keep saying it. Keep living it. Keep demanding it of yourself. I am awakened. So when I get to December of this year, it's like, I am awakened. This month, I am going to celebrate the awakened me. Would you like to join me? Yes. Let's celebrate the awakened I am. Yes. I am awakened. So we celebrate that this month. No past tense. I am. I am ready to be fired up. I am ready to, as Ernest Holmes said, find that fire in the belly and ignite it. How many people want to join me in igniting that fire in the belly? Great. Okay, so the title of my talk today is this. Hello, Thor. Awakening the fire within. So yesterday, I get the LA Times every week. And yesterday, there was a magazine. I don't remember what it was about, but it was a great magazine. I just kept reading. It was actually people writing letters to their future self or their past self. Did anybody else see that? I guess I'm the only one that really reads the LA Times. So it was a great full magazine. And it was all these people, a lot of Black Lives Matter people, writing mostly to their future selves of where we're going. But then this one person wrote to their teenage self, and he's in his 40s. And it was great, because he wrote saying, here's where we get to. I do that all the time in meditation. I will talk to my younger self, the younger self that had problems, the younger self that didn't feel worthy, the younger self that was afraid to be gay, the younger self that thought that the world was against him. And I will talk to that part of me and say, look where we get to. Look where the world gets to, and we're just scratching the surface. So it was a great, great, great article. But there was a quote, and it was this. Go ahead, Thor. The most powerful... Oh, no, go back, Thor. Go back 2. So there should be a first quote. There it is. Radical change begins with commitment. Radical change begins with commitment. Incremental change, that happens. It's going to happen. But radical change, if you want radical change, if you want your life to really change, and I'm not saying you don't have a great life. I have a great life. I am a privileged person, and I acknowledge that. I am privileged. and I want to do as much as I can with my privilege into the world, which means I want to be even more privileged. I want even more so that I can take this privilege and share it and help people who are not privileged. So radical change begins with commitment. You want something big to change in your life? You want to know who you are so clearly that every aspect of your day unfolds with precision because that's where you aimed it? You have to start with commitment. You have to decide to say yes to a life that you say you want to live. You have to decide to say yes to all the things that you would like to experience, not accomplish, all the things you would like to experience in this world. There is so much in this world to experience. I think we are experiencing a tiny, tiny little piece of it. So, as I said, the title of my talk is Awakening the Fire Within. Now go to the next slide, Thor. So, this is by Ferdinand Foch, French theorist. The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Isn't that what you'd like to awaken? Awakening the fire within? If I say I am awakened, then I must be awakened to my human soul on fire. Not on fire in a negative way, on fire in a positive way, in a creative way. It is interesting. Someone asked me the other day, what's the difference between the two centers that you now are spiritual director of? And I said, not a lot to me because I bring the same me to both centers. But I am aware that out in Palm Desert, most of the congregation are retired. And in Los Angeles, even if you are retired, you're not retired. Here, it feels like there's so much more passion for living. And yet that's what I'm bringing there, which means I'm going to make them listen to Light My Fire at some point. Right? So you have this human soul, and it is on fire. It will always be on fire. It always was on fire. It's just, are you aware that it's there? Are you committed to it? Are you saying yes to that fire? I know Reverend Nancy Berggren is. Every week or two, she sends me an email saying, I just got a guest starring role on such and such. I mean, this is a woman who, when I first met her, said she was retired. That was how many years ago? 20? 12 years? It feels like 20. 15 years ago, she said, I'm retired. I'm slowing down. She hasn't slowed down. Anybody here slowing down in life? No. Why would we slow down? There is a fire raging inside of our souls. And it's up to us to ignite it. So let's just say you are awakened. Now what? What are you going to do with that awakening? I am awakened. Okay, now what? Next slide, Thor. So Plutarch, Greek philosopher, said, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Your mind is not something that you need to fill with constant information. I am all for education. I love the classes I get to teach now. I now teach 4 classes a week with 4 brand new books that I have not taught before, which is just amazing. Last week's Wednesday night class, who's in the Wednesday night class? Last week's Wednesday night class, crazy. One person after last week Wednesday night class moved to Monday nights because she said, I'm just not there. Because it is string theory as relatable to Ernest Holmes. So you don't have to know string theory. You just have to get on board with allowing this newness of life to come in and inform you. Not the information, the fire. So the mind's not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. So, okay, let's say you are awakened. Now what? So on Thursday night, it was Tuesday night. May have been Wednesday night. Which night was it I asked this question? It was Tuesday night, I think. Thor, you'll tell me. The question was, although it wasn't posed like this, if you knew you couldn't fail, was it Thursday night? Thank you. If you knew you couldn't fail, that's the advanced consciousness. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? If you knew, absolutely knew you couldn't fail, failure was out of the picture, what would you then decide to do? You know, it's rhetorical, but not for you. Think about it. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Here's the thing. So often in life, we have dreams, we have aspirations, we have desires that come to us. That's true imagination. That is true intuition. That is the infinite speaking to you, through you. And then the idea comes, the desire comes, and then your critical thinking starts to play into it. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I don't know that I could ever accomplish that. Well, what if? And yeah, but, and all that crap that gets involved. What happened to that divine, perfect idea that came along to you? What happened? This gift that the universe said, Joselito, this is yours to do. Now, I know Joselito listens to those things, and that's why he's all over the map, everywhere, doing millions of things for people, because he listens. He hears it, he listens, he does. He doesn't think about it, he just does it. Because he knows. I'm kind of like that. When it comes to me, and it feels right, I just go. I don't want to hear all of the yeah buts. And that's why I said this to Kevin the other day, I said, do you want to know why you seem like you always feel like you're the last one to know? Because you are. I said, but you're not the last one to know, you're just the next one to know after me, because I mostly keep it to myself and then do it, unless I have to ask the board for permission. Just FYI, Stan. But once it comes to me, I know it's mine to do, I do it. I don't ask everyone's opinions, because frankly, I would have done 1/10 of what I've done in life if I took everyone's opinion and actually acted on it. So, back to the question. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? So the next slide. True imagination, Ernest Holmes says, is not fanciful daydreaming. It is fire from heaven. I was called a daydreamer my whole life. Anybody else? Yeah. Daydreaming. Stop daydreaming. Get real. When people say get real, they usually mean pay attention to the relative world. Let everybody tell you how it's been done. I remember when my ministry started, and I was sitting with my board, and one of the CSL ministers came in, one of my mentors, and told my board that I should not do anything but ministry, and that they should help me get out of my whole theater, as she sat in my theater, by the way. And I remember thinking to myself, no, that is not me. It's not who I am. We cannot listen to those things outside of us when the fire from heaven is leading us forward. Now, you must figure out, how do you figure that out? How do you know which is which? How do you know when something that comes through you is the right thing to do when there's all these other things as well? Well, good question. So this month, I have a charge for you this month. Next slide, Thor. I'd like you to take a risk, and this is my quote. Risk as though there were no risk, just knowing. So the real question I asked the Thursday night class, Tiffany, was, if there were no risk, what would you do? And of course, I knew it was a trick question, because most of them came back to me and said, well, we don't believe in risk, so the question's invalid. I said, all right, then let me pose it this way. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? But I'm asking you to risk, knowing that there is no risk. Risk as though there were no risk, just knowing. So take a risk. Take a risk to your usual mindset and step into a higher mindset and know. Take that knowing and allow yourself to act from it. So I'm asking you to look at that this month. I mean, really, when you really think about it, what are you waiting for? I mean, really, what are we waiting for our lives to begin? What are we waiting for to do the most dynamic, exciting things we've ever imagined? What are we waiting for? We're waiting for nothing. It's like we're all in our own never-ending production of no exit. Has anybody seen that play? Where they just sit and talk and there's no exit. They're waiting for someone and it never shows up. So what are we waiting for? Next slide. So Robert Louis Stevenson in 1882 came up with this idea of fire in the belly. It wasn't Ernest Holmes. And he came up with it really talking about politicians, that they had a fire in their belly to do something, to get out in the world and make changes. And I know we have turned politicians into something completely different. But I believe, and I know, and I've been in arguments with people who do not believe this, but I do believe this. I believe there are people in this world who get into politics because they want to make a difference. That there are real, true politicians whose job and whose heart and soul are to get in there and make a change. And for the people that stand back going, it's never going to happen, then you don't get this teaching. This teaching says one in consciousness with the infinite becomes a complete majority. Just think about that. You, in consciousness with the infinite, maintain a complete majority over your life. Every decision you make, when it is made from that highest level of consciousness, when it is made from an awakened mind, everything is on your side. You cannot fail. That's what he means by fire in the belly. So it also means a powerful sense of ambition, enthusiasm, and passion. So, because I didn't want to end today without giving you some ideas to make this happen, I know for me, I sit there and I go, so how do I live an awakened life? How do I awaken myself? How do I really awaken myself into a higher level of who I am? So I have 5 ideas, because 5 is my number. So 5 ideas. 1, get out of its way. That's a simple one, isn't it? Get out of its way. Just allow whatever is coming through you to come through you. Get out of its way, which means don't talk to everybody about it. That lessens it. Just get out of its way and see what's going to happen. How many of you have ever just spent the afternoon dancing around your living room? Steve? Getting out of the way of that fire in your belly means to put everything aside and let yourself dance with whatever idea comes through you. Number 2, stop making excuses. How many of you have excuses that you use all the time? All the time. And we use the same excuses. We have excuses that are like coverall excuses. This works for everything. So, letting go of your excuses. What if you really had no excuses? There was no excuse. Did you ever hear yourself say that? I have no excuse here. That's what I'm looking for. Number 3, take risks. Just change things up. Take risks. Be willing to change things up. How many people here, just sitting here, can actually say to yourself, I could use a little changing things up in my life? How many people feel that way? Yeah, most of us just change things up. Just for the fact of changing it up. You can go back to it. You can go right back to it. Change it up. Have sushi. But I have an excuse for sushi. I do. I have an excuse for sushi. Every time I eat sushi, I get sick. That's what I tell myself. So guess what? I went to a restaurant. Kevin and our neighbors across the street wanted to go to this great sushi place. And I said, no, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it again. So we went, and I ate everything they ate, and it was amazing. About 4 hours later, I was sick. And I said to Kevin, I'm never eating sushi again. And he said, James, I honestly believe, just someone, don't you love it when science of mind comes thrown back at you? He said, I honestly believe that, yes, you did say you were going to try it again. But in the back of your mind, you have a belief that you will always get sick with sushi. He said, so it was inevitable. Your belief's bigger than your willingness to risk. That's why I'm never letting him give a lecture up here. He always asks me. So I'm going to throw that back at you. Take a risk and check your beliefs. Make sure that as you risk, your beliefs are in check and you're aware of what's going on. Oh, my face again. Number 4, listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. The brain in your gut. Listen to that intuitive side of you. Listen to that voice in you. Not just all the other voices, but listen to your gut. And number 5, and most importantly, quiet your mind. Be willing to every single day, right, Reverend Liza? Every single day, quiet your mind. It's very challenging for the fire in your belly to show up when you are creating an ice storm in your head of constant backlash, constantly fighting that very thing that wants to rise up. Because as you saw, it's your job to kindle. So give me the next slide. Goethe said this: whatever you can do or dream, you can. Begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So all I'm asking you to do today is to commit to knowing that there is a fire in your belly. Make a commitment to say yes to something in you that knows more than you do. When Ernest Holmes said there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it, he said there's a power for good in the universe greater than you are and you can use it. He was asking us to get our relative minds out of the way from this thing that is greater than I am, this fire in the belly that is just waiting for me to say, take over. Here's some matches. Light it up. So this month, as we go into all of these celebrations and all the things that we get to celebrate, make a commitment to start paying attention to that fire in the belly, to start paying attention to that knowingness in the gut, to start really committing to I am awakened. Raise yourself up to that highest level of consciousness. And from there, sky is the limit. From there, anything you decide gets a solid yes after it. I am taller than the pyramids of Egypt. And I am worth more than anything. And so are you. Namaste.